So hello and welcome to another video. I'm pretty excited to get going. I'm back on Willow and yes, I'm back in Peg 20. Now I've had a good look round and I've not seen any signs of fish so far. I've even been up the tree in this no fishing area and you know, I didn't see anything at all, but it has got form, this area, and I know the spots quite well. So with that in mind, I'm going to be going out on that clay spot out in open water. I'm going to fish one towards this no fishing area, and then my middle rod, I'm actually going to try and look for something different on that, because I've always struggled to get something going on that rod. And the beauty of fishing swim 20 is nobody can fish peg 1 and vice versa whilst you're fishing in this area. And I've not really took a look over that area since I've been fishing in this swim, so I'm going to have a look over that way on and see if I can find something. So that's the plan of attack. I've still got a lot to go. The rods are on the stands but they're not rigged up yet. It's raining, it's overcast, it's pretty cold. It's a couple of weeks before Christmas, that's why I've got the Christmas hat on. This vlog will be going out a few days before Christmas, so it is a Christmas session for me. Let's see if we can make it a good one. Let's get going. Well, that's it, the rods are on the dance floor, we are fishing, and boy am I glad that I decided to have a lead about first, because that channel rod, if I'd have had that in first, I wouldn't have a rod there now. Whilst I was sat here tying some bags up, a branch snapped out the tree and went smashing in right next to where my alarms was. I am so thankful that I didn't put that rod out first. Bloody hell. That was lucky, that'd have been my rod. So my plan of attack, I've got 2 out on solid bags and I've got 1 out on a big mesh stick. It's the open water rod, the clay spot, that I've got out on the mesh stick, and then the channel rod, that's on a solid bag, just so I can go as close up to that rope as possible. Sometimes, you know, when you've got a baited rig on and you're going up to something, sometimes your hook can get caught in it. With that solid bag on, if I do go over that rope, I can just flick it back over and it's not going to cause any harm. And then my middle rod, I didn't really find anything where I wanted to be honest. I wanted to go a lot more left with that rod, but in that area it was just all sill. So I'm not too far away from where I was fishing that rod last time. It is the same gravel spot, but what I've done is I've backed off of the main part of it. Last time I fished it at 11¼ wraps and I fished it a bit more to the right. I've come a little bit left now, we're probably about 12 foot away, and I've dropped short as well. I'm clipping it up bang on 11 wraps, so it's right on the edge of that gravel spot. Hopefully, you know, something will happen with that rod. So on my clay spot, I've gone in on my combi link rig, and that's a size 6 wide gape. I'm fishing that with a 15mm banana and pineapple, and quite a large mesh stick. It's the 35mm mesh that, so there is a good bit of bait out there. I'm deciding not to spot, I'm just relying solely on the bags and the sticks. And then the channel rod, that's gone right up to that rope like I usually do. The reason I prefer a solid bag on that is because, you know, if you slightly go over that rope, you can just flick it back over and land it right next to it. You couldn't do that with a conventional rig. And yeah, and just because I had my rod rigged up with solid bags from last time I was out, I left it on a solid bag, that one, and that's what's gone out on that 11 wrap spot. But I might change that, we'll just have to see how it goes. And the rig for the solid bag rig is the same as usual. It's the PB Products silk wire on there. I've got a BB shot about 1 inch away from the hook, and hook of choice for that one is the size 7 Nash Pinpoint claws. I really like them when you're fishing a short hook links. They're a very sharp hook. Yeah, and the bait that's going in the solid bags is the same as before as well. It's the 2mm isolate pellets, and there's also some 2mm fast breakdown pellets in there. So I've got a slow breakdown and a fast breakdown. They're both heavily glugged in beta stim liquid, and I've got some crumbed up LM94 in there as well. So we're just gone 2 o'clock in the afternoon now, and you know, after previous sessions in here, sort of between 3 and 5 o'clock is a good time for that channel rod to go off. I'm still yet to see anything or pick up any liners. As we speak at the moment, I've not seen a single fish show, but hopefully, you know, going into darkness we might see something, or we might get an occurrence before then. And condition wise, it's looking absolutely bang on for it. I'm really surprised I haven't seen anything show yet, but we've got a low pressure coming in. At the moment it's not ideal, it could be a bit lower if I was being picky, but at the moment we've got 1005, so it's still low but not as low as I'd like it to be. We're Ooh, I think that was just the wind. But yes, we're approaching a good time this evening between 6 and 9 o'clock. The air pressure's dropping right down to 1001, and we've got a warm wind. It's hovering around 10 degrees, the wind. It is going to drop tonight to around about 6-7 degrees, and tomorrow it's going to drop colder. But the conditions are bang on for it. I like fishing here when it's like this, low pressure, overcast, strong wind. There is a slight possibility that, you know, the fish could get on the wind, but given what I know from previous sessions and the time of year, it is a bit tricky this time of year. Sometimes you can find them on the wind. You know, we're sort of had them first few frosts now and the water temperature's dropping and dropping, but today the air temperature is warmer than the water temperature. But usually what you find at this time of year is the water temperature is actually better than our air temperature as it starts to drop. But you know, in here we've got a sort of an average of around 10 foot deep, so them fish could be anywhere. And like you say, without seeing anything, you've got to go with what you know. So that is what I'm doing at the moment. If it doesn't pay off by the morning, I think a move will be on the cards, and we'll probably move right onto the wind. Or, you know, we'll wait until later until we see something show. Even if I have to move in the middle of the night, I will do, if I think that's what we need to do. So yes, it's all to play for. The rods are out there. We're approaching that good time. It's coming up to 3 o'clock in about 30 minutes or so. So hopefully the next time you see me, it'll be with a fish. But if not, I've got plenty to talk about. So we'll have a bit of a catch up in a bit. Well, good evening, and we're just coming up 7:15 now. I'm afraid to report that not much has happened out there. I've been sat watching the water and I've not seen anything show, and the channel rod has not shown any indication at all. I have, however, on a positive note, had a liner on the long rod. That's the one fishing out on that clay spot. So you know, there is something out there, but as it stands at the minute, you know, it's not looking very promising, I'll be honest. There is a possibility that there could be down that other end of the lake on the wind, but you know, we'll let tonight pan out and see how it goes. You know, if I need to move, like I said, I will move. But you know, if I look back to previous sessions, them open water spots tend to come into their own at sort of around 10 o'clock at night. Sort of between 10 and midnight is a good time for that area, and just before first light, so fingers crossed. I have, however, got a slight concern on the channel rod. As you come round there, as it starts to come into the bay, there's definitely some bait out there. There's been some coots and they keep diving it in exactly the same spot, and every time they come back up they've always got bait in the beak. So it looks like, I mean, we're Tuesday now, it looks like that there has been an angler in here over the weekend, and the fact that that bait is still there is a little bit concerning, you know, because they do like the bait in here. So it just kind of indicating to me that they're not getting in that no fishing zone, but we'll have to wait and see. Well, we are all set for the night ahead. We've got a few solid bags made up, ready to go, and a few mesh sticks, and I've had my tea. I had some chicken in white wine sauce and some egg fried rice. It was absolutely beautiful. It's not often that I treat myself on the bank, but you know, on these cold nights, sometimes that's all you've got to do. The wind is absolutely brutal at the moment, 40-mile-an-hour winds, and to be honest, it's making it hard to identify if any fish are showing out there. Normally when it drops calm at night, you can hear them showing in the distance, even if they're right down the other end of the lake. And with this wind, I can't hear anything at all other than the wind. But fingers crossed none of them branches come down on my head. You know, that's the last thing I want. Yes, so as I mentioned, there's plenty to talk about. Last week was the first tutorial session I've done, and I had a guy called Eric Jackson that had booked me for 24 hours on Norton Disney. Now, before arriving to the lake, you know, I did a little bit of homework because I've not been to that complex before, only to find out just how hard it had been fishing. And then upon arriving as well, talking to the fishery manager Ben, he told us that there hasn't been a fish out for over a week. So you know, we was really apprehensive, and you know, we spent a good few hours walking around the lake trying to locate the fish, but nothing was showing. In fact, nothing showed for the duration of the session while we was there. But in the end, it was the birds that give it away. The birds was all congregated in one area. I mean, there was probably there because it was a bit warmer, or there was a bit of a food source there, because there was quite an abundance of weed where there was holed up. But I seen the sign what I needed to. One dive down and then come straight back up. It shot back up, and that was all the indication we needed. So we set up on the birds, so to speak. Now Eric, in particular, what he wanted to achieve from this session was to work on his accuracy skills and spot finding. And not only that, he wanted to cover solid bag fishing, because he didn't have much confidence in fishing solid bags. And that is what we did. I mean, it took us a good while to get the rods out. We arrived at 10 o'clock. It was probably about 11 o'clock when we chose the swim, and it wasn't until 3 o'clock in the afternoon until we was eventually happy and the rods was out. You know, he spent a good time leading about, and in particular, you know, the spots was quite obvious to me, but there wasn't to Eric. There was a spot out to the left which was between two weed beds, and it was right on the end of the wind. It was just, you know, just an obvious spot to me, really. That wasn't where the birds was, but where the birds was, where I seen one of them spook, there was an island there, and what we did was we got the deeper out and just had a little look about just to see what sort of depths we had, and not only that, to see where the drop off was, and we positioned that rod just at the bottom of the shelf where it sort of leveled out into 15 foot of water. It wasn't you know, a steep slope or anything like that. It was gradual, but again, it was still sort of a natural you know, passing point in my eyes. So yes, that was the two spots that we had marked out, and we wasn't fishing long at all, and one of the rods was away, so you know, it was a massive relief off of my shoulders. But not only that, you know, Eric was absolutely made up, because you know, he had a bit of unsettled business with this lake. He fished it before himself, and you know, it wasn't very fruitful, let's put it that way. He didn't have anything. Him and a couple of his mates went and, you know, really struggled. So you know, to be away in a couple of hours in tough conditions was just an absolute dream come true. So I'll hand you over to this little bit of footage now. Well, we're up at Norton Disney, and I'm here with Eric. It's a first tutorial for me, you know, so it's breaking my back. But not only that, Eric's off to a flyer, and to say the lake is fishing hard is an understatement. There's a chap on the far side over there. He's done 4 nights without a fish, and talking to the bailiff, you know, the last fish to come out was at least 4 or 5 days ago, by the sounds of things. So to get this, you know, we're only here for 24 hours. Just on the solid bag approach, you know, pretty similar to how I was fishing Fenlands last week. He's off to a flyer. Just wait till you see this scaly banger. £23 2 ounces just gone. A testament to the venue. Look at the shoulders on it. It's going to be a right chunk, that.
That's gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
Wicked, man. Just look at the scales on that. Absolutely fantastic. Beautiful. How do you feel, Eric?
Buzzing.
Buzzing?
Buzzing's not the word.
Are you glad you booked me?
Oh yes.
Would you book again?
Definitely.
Wicked.
Definitely. Highly recommend, mate.
That's what I like to hear. Should we get some pictures and slip him back then? So yeah, he didn't tell me until after we'd done the video clip, but that fish was a personal best for him. He just went, oh, and by the way, I've not had many big fish before. That was a PB for me. So, you know, I was absolutely blown away. The session was already made just after a couple of hours of fishing. But you know, like anything, you get it right, you get it right. And he went on to have another 3 fish. He had an 18-pound mirror, a 16-pound common, and then he finished off with another 15-pound mirror. And Ben, the fishery manager, come round and he says, flipping it, that is really, really good going, especially to how it has been fishing. You know, so, well, what can I say really? You get it right, you get it right. And it's safe to say that we both went home very happy indeed. Eric went away with a PB, 4 fish under his belt, and gained a lot of knowledge about spot finding. We spent a good bit of time leading about, and it took him a while, I'm not gonna lie, it took him a while to get things sorted. But afterwards, you know, he was hitting that spot every single time. Really positive tuition that was, and being a first tuition for me, you know, I was absolutely made up. And it's looking promising for next year. I mean, I can't offer that many, you know, time is precious and all that, but what I can offer, I'm already fully booked for the spring, which is why I've agreed to a couple of winter sessions, because ideally it's not the time of year when you want to be doing tutorials. Just one more thing before I stop going on about that tutorial. Eric was quite keen to put a shout out to his 3 mates that he goes fishing with. So he wanted to put a shout out to Matthew, Barry and Josh, otherwise known as the Black Chickens. I don't know the story behind that, but you know, there must be a funny one. I'll probably ask him and tell you about it next time. So yes, a shout out to you boys from Eric. So yes, back to the fishing. Like I said, it's looking bleak at the moment, but it only takes 1 bite, so fingers crossed for tonight. Hopefully the next time you see me it'll be with something carpy, but if not, we'll have a bit of a catch up in the morning.
I choose to think positively no matter what's going on around me. I have a great life and will continue to have a great life. Every breath I inhale, I become.
Well, good morning, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm feeling pretty deflated this morning. I lost a fish last night, about 20 past 9. The long rod, the clay spot, it just absolutely ripped off, blistering take. Lifted into it and I didn't have it on very long and the hook just fell out. I inspected the rig, the hook, everything was fine. It was just one of them things. You know, I bloody hate losing fish. Especially when things are looking bleak like they are, and then you get a bite and you lose it. And since then I've seen nothing. I've had no occurrences, no liners. So there's only one thing for it. I'm on the move. I'm off down there on the end of the wind. I mean, if anything, you know, it is always iffy this time of year, but in general you'll find that the lake's warmer than the air temperature because we haven't had enough frost yet for it to, you know, for the lake to be colder than the air. I mean, yesterday it was a different story though. We had a warm wind yesterday, sort of highs of around 11 and 10 yesterday. It is due to drop tonight. It's going to drop to 0 tonight. But with what I've seen and heard, you know, they've got to be down there. They've just got to be down there. It is the deeper water, that end. My friend Martin's on at the minute as well. He's fishing swim 12, and he had exactly the same thing happen to him last night. Blistering take, lifted into it, played it, and then it dropped off. Absolutely unbelievable. I mean, he was using a similar rig to me, but he was using a size 8, but I'm on a size 6. So it just goes to show that they're feeding finicky. They're not feeding as confident as there was. Or that's sort of the way I'm thinking anyway. So, you know, a fine gauge, sharp hook, that's what's needed. And them quarter wide gapes, you know, I've got good faith in them. They're a fine gauge hook and sharp out the packet. I know they're not the sharpest, but the fish in here have got quite hard mouths. So I don't like to use a hand sharpened hook. I mean, I'm not a big fan of them anyway. You'll probably know that watching my vlogs. But what I might do is I might switch over to the claw on all of them, the pinpoint claws, because they're even sharper than the quarter wide gapes. I quite like them because, you know, they are really sharp out the packet. I mean, it says that they're hand sharpened, but they don't corrode. Not like the Kamakuras anyway. Them Kamakuras, they're definitely the sharpest hook you can buy off the shelf, without doubt. But they corrode so quickly, and I just don't like the idea of anything corroding. It's like sandpaper pulling into the mouth, you know. If anything, I think it hinders you rather than, you know, going in nice and easy. But you don't get that with the Nash pinpoints. They don't corrode. Or I'm yet to experience it anyway. I don't use them a lot, but when I have used them, they've never corroded on me. They are a one fish hook though. Just bear that in mind if you are going to use them. The wind is meant to stay like this for today. Top highs of 20 mile an hour, so nothing like it was yesterday. Martin's just been round and seen me this morning. He said that branch that come out that tree ended up on top of his rods last night. When I say on top of him, it was on top of his right hand rod, so he couldn't get it in this morning. So he's had to fish that branch out just to be able to reel his rod in. And when he reeled it in, he had a bloody bream on the end of it. A good bream as well. He says it's a big one, a 15-pound bream. So that's a turn up for the books, eh? But yes, I'm definitely going to move around there. I think I'm going to situate myself in peg 10, which is next to the swim where I fished last time. That way I can still fish that 7 wrap spot from that swim, but then I can search out a bit more to the right, because last time I was down there, most of the fish that I heard in the night was all to the right. It was just too hard to hear anything in the night last night with the wind. But Martin said he'd seen a fish showing short in front of sort of around peg 13's water, which is sort of central on that far bank. So, you know, the fact that one fish has showed there, it might indicate that there's more fish down there. I mean, I didn't see it. I was asleep at the time, but he's been awake since first light. I only woke up when he got round here at 8 o'clock. It was a bit of a rough night really. I was just up and down most of the night willing one of them rods to go off. You know that sickening feeling you've got after you've lost a fish. You just like willing the other rods to go off, like please, please. That was me most of the night. And then I've eventually fallen asleep, and then Martin's woke me up and I've like, oh, just woke up in despair. But that is carp fishing for you, you know. You can't always make hay, can you, while the sun's shining. It was quite a tough session last time I was here. You know, I had two fish quite quickly. And then, you know, nothing for the second night. And I lost a fish after that as well. And the weird thing is, after losing that fish, nothing else happened. And it's kind of like what's happened now. I've lost a fish and nothing's happened. It's like they've sussed me. The thought process, eh? just can't help but be a little bit sceptical now after losing that fish. So yes, I'm going to stop waffling. The next time you see me will be on the other side of the pond, and I am not looking forward to moving. My barrow wheel is absolutely knackered. It's probably going to take me 3 trips to get round there, but needs must. So yes, let's do it. Well, here we are, we're all set up in swim 10 now, and it's taken a little longer than I'd like to have got set up, especially that left hand rod. I was leading about for ages and all I could find was silt, and what I was trying to find is the spot that I fished last time I was here in Peg 11, the 7 wrap spot, the little gravel spot. But in the end I had to bring it in, put a marker float on, go into Peg 11 and cast out to that spot just so I had a marker, and then I was able to come back round into this swim, put a lead on and just cast out to the marker, and then sure enough come back round with a leading rod, found it. It's a really small spot that, but you know, I feel really confident of a bite on that spot. It did me 2 bites last time I was here, that. And the right hand rods, they was a lot easier to find spots. They're both on gravel spots. The right hand rod is fishing a bit longer, that's at 8 3/4, and the middle and the left both fishing the same, they're 6 3/4, all on gravel spots. The left hand rod's on a solid bag, and the right hand two, they're both on the mesh stick with a 15mm pop-up on, and in the solid bag we've got the 12mm pop-up on. I must admit, this wind's quite warm. It's quite pleasant sitting here now. You'd think it'd be horrible sitting on the end of this wind, but it really isn't. And I feel really confident. I mean, obviously there's been one sighting of a fish down here. That's enough for me. It just feels a lot better. It is very much hit and miss in Peg 20. You've got to time it right for when them fish are up there. I think if the wind swung round though and was blowing up into Peg 20, it might be a different story. It is definitely noticeable that they do follow the wind. And I know coming into, we're sort of coming into winter now. This will be the last autumn session for me. It's a bit hit and miss whether they're going to be on the wind or not, but at the minute it's all looking like they're still following the wind. And I'm fishing relatively short. Anyway, since that last fish went out, I've added another target fish onto the list, so I've got 2 targets now. Simon, who was sending me the emails before, he actually contacted me on Facebook this time, and he sent me a few pictures. And not only that, the fish that I've seen, it come out a couple of weeks ago. It's a fish called the river fish. It is absolutely scale perfect. It's probably the best looking fish I've seen in here. In the past it has gone £40 that fish, but these days it's sort of a mid-30. It was last out at £35. Yeah, and Simon's had that fish. He sent me a picture of it. Here's a picture of that now. And he's also had the other target fish that's on the list, frisbee. Here's a picture of that. Now he actually had that. He actually had frisbee out of Peg 10. He's told me that, sort of swim 12, there's a silt gully in swim 12, comes into its own at winter time, and so does Peg 10. And frisbee's got a liking for this area, so we'll keep everything crossed. You never know. He's a bit more of a regular visitor than the river fish. From what I can gather, the river fish don't come out that often, so I don't think there'll be much chance of him this session. I mean, I think he was out about 3 weeks ago. I'm going by the post that I've seen on Facebook. That guy actually had a good hit that session, and that being the cherry on the cake. Well, I'm still yet to see anything show whilst I've been here, but it is, as you come into winter, they don't show on here. I think the few sessions I did do on here at the beginning of this year, I hardly seen anything show. It wasn't until the springtime where they started to show themselves. So I'm not too worried, and like I said, I feel really confident now. I'm really glad I put the effort in to move round here, and it wasn't easy because I may have mentioned before, my barra is knackered. I need a new barra. I mean, I made it in 2 trips, but even the first trip absolutely killed me. I really do have to get myself another barra. But I want the camera first, so, the barra's going to have to wait. I'm going to have to keep lumping it, I think. I reckon if anything is going to happen, it's going to be that first hour of darkness. It seems to be you can set your watch by it. I mean, that's when Martin had his run and lost it yesterday. It was around about 4:30ish. And I know I lost one at like 9:20, but that was fishing right out in the middle of the pond. 15 wraps from Peg 20s right out in the middle of the pond. You can only fish there if nobody's in the swim next to you. And the fact that we nicked a bite, it kind of says that they're definitely down this way on. And like I say, the other 2 rods, not a single bleep at all. Yeah, it's sometimes hard to make a decision when it's like this time of year. And I made the wrong decision yesterday. But I wasn't to know that, you know, you go by what you know. And with the temperature drop that we have had this week, I mean, yeah, it's relatively mild the past couple of days. It has been cold for the rest of this week, so, you know, I was really and ahhing whether or not to come down here or go up there. And you see, if them fish turn up there, you can really have a good hit of fish, no matter what time it is. So yes, I'm going to stop waffling on. I've not eaten anything today, and we've just gone 1 o'clock now, so I'm going to get some food on, and hopefully the next time you see me it'll be with something carpy. But we'll have a bit of a catch up later, just before it gets dark anyway. Good evening, and a few hours have passed now since I last spoke to you. We've just gone 5 o'clock, you know, and I'm sitting here now with everything crossed, praying and hoping that one of them rods rips off. But if I'm being honest, it looks very, very bleak. You know, I've not seen a fish show, I've had no liners to indicate that the fish are there. Yeah, there's definitely been a dramatic change from when I was last here 2 weeks ago. You know, I've certainly seen a lot more fish show, you know, and I had a few liners. Not only that, I had a couple of bites as well. So, you know, the fish are definitely slowing down. Hopefully, you know, it only takes one bite, that's all we need. It's dropped rather cold tonight though. I'm absolutely freezing sitting here now. I cannot wait to get in a sleeping bag. So I'm going to keep it short, and hopefully, you know, I've said it and I'll say it again. Please let one of them rods rip off. I shall speak to you very, very soon. Well, good morning, and I'm afraid to say that that was a good night's sleep. Absolutely nothing happened last night, not even a single bleep on the rods. Martin's already packed up this morning. He's gone before this rain kicked in. It is late morning now, it's just gone 9:30. So it's been alight for about an hour and a half. And I'm still yet to see a fish show. It really is a grueler, this session. And I went to bed last night feeling really confident, thinking that there could be down here. But you know, I fished short. And I've been on the phone this morning to the wife, and I've managed to grovel an extra night out the session, so we've got another night to play with. Now, given what I know and what I've seen, you know, I think my only option is to go long. Obviously I was fishing long out in peg 20 where I had the bite from. I was fishing out at nearly 16 wraps, just short of 16 wraps. And the bite that Martin hadn't lost, he was fishing out at 11 wraps, so you know, I'm kind of thinking they could just be held up in that central zone all clumped together. I've had a little walk round this morning though, and up in peg 20 them coots are still diving on that bait, you know, so which indicates the fish are not getting close in. That's the way I'm thinking anyway, but you know, I've seen a massive change in it since last time I was here. I really have. Not seen nowhere near as many fish. I mean, I haven't seen anything, but Martin said he's seen one show, you know, before I moved into this swim. But yes, it does look lifeless out there. Apart from the bird life, you know, it does look lifeless. And the fact that I've had no liners all night, you know, indicates that they're further out. So, you know, we'll use what we know and see if we can capitalise on that. But if anything, you know, I really do think we're only just fishing for a bite. Really is tough going. We had a bit of a hard frost last night as well. I was up a couple of times in the night, and at 2 o'clock this morning everything was white over. But with that rain that's come in today, you know, it's cleared all the frost up. You wouldn't think that now, but it is still cold sitting here. You might be able to hear it in my voice actually, so I am pretty cold. So yes, at least Martin's going home with a bream. Here's a picture of that. It's a PB bream for him, that. And don't worry, I did send him a few sick faces before I congratulated him on Facebook. But you know, he's going home happy. Although he still considers it a blank, at least he's going home with something for his effort. Albeit the wrong species. Well, now Martin's packed up, I'm the only person that's left on the lake. I'm going to give it a couple of hours before I have a lead out there and see what I can find, just to see whether or not anybody else turns up. You know, I don't want to be taking the mickey, so to speak, and somebody else turn up and want to fish, you know, the area where I'm casting to. But if nobody's turned up by 11 o'clock, then I shall be commencing having a lead about out there. I may as well take advantage of it if I can. And on the weather front, although it doesn't look very nice out there, it is very good. Massive drop in air pressure today. It's going right down into the 970s, so you know that's a bonus, and it's a positive for the session. It's going to remain that all the way through the night into tomorrow as well. We are going to get a bit of rain in between, gusts of up to 20 mile an hour. So you know, all in all, ideal conditions in my opinion for this time of year. It's going to drop cold again tonight, but you know, they're already in that winter mode. I'm clearly seeing that. So we'll just carry on fishing the way we are doing. Search that water today. I'm just waiting for a gap in the weather really before I can start making a move. I've had my breakfast, nice streaky bacon wrap. Can't beat the old streaky bacon. I love making it so it's really crispy. So yes, I'm going to leave it there, and hopefully next time I have a talk with you it'll be with something positive. Well, good afternoon, and I have to apologise for the lack of footage today, but this rain has just been relentless all day, wind coming straight into my face, and to be honest, I've only had like little breaks in the rain, and it's due to stay like this up until around about 6 o'clock tonight. But you know, I've had a good lead about out there, and I'm really happy with the spots that I've found. In particular the right hand rod, you know, that's my most favourable out of the three. It's a really tricky cast that as well. That's fishing out at 16 3/4 wraps, and it's as far to the right as I can go really. It's aiming at a tree with no branches on it. And the thing that's making it tricky is with the wind coming in towards me and the trees that are overhanging to the right, you know, you've got to make sure you hit the clip quite hard, and then, you know, put your rod right out as far as you can, otherwise the bow in the line just goes in the trees. I did it once on the first cast, so I don't plan on doing that again, but that's a lovely gravel spot that. The middle rod, that's gone out to 11 wraps and 2 foot, that is. Again, that's a gravel spot, but that's out there in that deep water. There's 11 foot there where that's fishing. And then my left hand rod, that's fishing right out into the middle of the pond. Now that was a bit of a tricky spot to find that. It was mostly all silt out there. But I eventually found some clay. You wouldn't have known it was clay it isn't until you check the lead and see the clay on the lead, where you realise what you're pulling over, because you just keep pulling back, and you can feel the resistance from the silt, and then the lead just starts to skip across, and you think, hey, oh, what's that? And so, you know, yeah, I clipped it, brought it in, had a look at the lead, seen the clay on the lead, made a few more casts just to double check how big it is, and it's probably about 6 foot wide, that. So although it's, you know, it is a big spot, but when you're casting out at that range with a headwind, it makes it quite tricky, and I've had to ditch the solid bag on that rod, pumping it out there, where you hit the clip. But you just can't keep it on a tight line with the wind. It's just blow, because the bag goes down ever so slow. I couldn't keep it on a tight line, so I wasn't confident on dropping on that spot. So I've switched that back over to the lead clip system. They're all fishing the same now, same rig. The quarter wide gapes and the combi link straight through, and they're all on 15mm pineapple and banana pop-ups now. And going back to the lead clip, you know, that enables me to use a 5-ounce lead, so I can punch it out there. But not only that, I can feel the drop and be confident that I'm on them spots. I'd rather fish like that than a solid bag, and, you know, just feel like it could be slightly off the spot. I want to turn in for the night feeling 100% positive. But, you know, I've been sitting and watching in between, you know, sorting things out, and I'm still yet to see a fish show. It really has switched off. You know, we really are fishing for just that one chance, I think. And, you know, we've tried the opposite side of the pond. We got a bite out in open water, and we've come round here on the wind, fish short, didn't have anything last night. You know, so going long, it might just be that's where they are. Only time will tell. And the reason of putting that rod all the way to the right is because that's the only water that we haven't searched. I mean, the run that Martin had was out in front of 12 at 11 wraps, and I know from previous experience there's a silt gully out there, so I think that's where he had the bite from. I don't know for sure, but he told me he had the bite at 11 wraps, and I know that there's a lot of silt out there from leading previously. So that's where we're at. On the plus side though, I've just had some sticky barbecue wings, and oh my god, they was absolutely sensational. And I've still got a few left. I drizzled a bit of hot sauce on them as well, so it was like sweet and sticky and really spicy. God, they went down a treat, they really did. And I got a bit of extra bacon for the morning. I popped to the shop before I got all the rods sorted for the night. So all is good. This weather is a bit relentless. I'm wrapped up, but you know, it's milder tonight than it was last night. I've been checking the weather, you know, throughout the day, and it has updated. and it's not as cold as it was forecast. So you know, lows of 6-7 degrees. The wind's going to stay consistent, and that air pressure is still way down, 970s. We can't ask for anything better really. Just got to hope that them fish play ball. You know, I've got no doubt in my mind about the rigs and the bait that I'm using. I'm 100% confident in them. So you know, it's one less thing to doubt. The only thing that you've got to do is find them fish. And at the moment, I think they're just grouped up somewhere, I really do. You normally see a lot more signs of them being active. But when I cast my mind back to January and February, when I had a couple of sessions on here, I didn't see a single fish at all, but I still caught, so, you know, it's just finding them. I definitely believe if you'd have put a load of bait out there, it's not the one. You just really are fishing for that small little window. And in my opinion, you know, that window this time of year is between sort of 5 o'clock and midnight. That's always been the best time at this time of year. On here anyway. So yes, unless anything else happens, I'm going to leave it there. If nothing doesn't happen, you won't hear again from me until the morning. I just want to hunker down, zip the door down I think tonight, in case it really lashes it down. Although it's not forecast. So yes, we shall have a catch up tomorrow morning if nothing happens through the night.
I choose to think positively, no matter what's going on around me. I have a great life and will continue to have a great life. Every breath I inhale, I become.
Well, good morning, and what a beautiful morning it is too. Total different contrast to yesterday. This morning the sun's been beaming down and it's rather mild as well. It's been quite pleasant sitting here this morning. It's dried the bivvy out lovely, so we've got a nice pack down, so to speak. But on the fishing front last night, I'm afraid nothing at all happened. I didn't see any fish out there, and I was up and down a good few times in the night. And no liners neither. It really has just switched off this place. It's like the fish have just gone into winter mode. In hindsight, I wished I'd have never moved from up in Peg 20. You know, that one bite, you know, it's a lot more than what's happened for the rest of the session. But you know, I wasn't to know that, and I really thought the bulk of the fish might have been down here. And as it stands, I still don't know where the bulk of the fish are. It's like they're just grouped up, sat somewhere doing nothing. That's how it feels at the moment. You know, but we really put the effort in yesterday. It was raining all day and I put the effort in finding them spots out long. And you know, it just proved fruitful. Doesn't matter sometimes what you chuck out there, how good you think your spots are. Sometimes it's just not meant to be, and that is one of these occasions. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, you know. I enjoy these hard sessions just as much as the good sessions. It's the getting out, the being here, you know, it makes it all worthwhile. And you know, this is my Christmas session. I'm not next out until after Christmas. The next time I can get out is actually the 27th of December, so it can't be on this lake. It'll have to be another venue, unless I give it a miss then and come the week after, and then I can get back on here. But you never know, I might even drop on Vermuyden yet. We'll have to wait and see. So yes, I'd like to take this opportunity to say Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, because this will be going out just before Christmas. And I really hope, you know, that you get what you want off of Santa, all them fishing goodies. I know I've put my orders in. Hopefully we'll get what we're wanting. So yes, I've literally got about an hour left, but that's going to be spent packing down, so I can't see anything happening. In my opinion, we've passed that best period for bite time. You might hear the chainsaw going in the background. That's because the Mike started the work on the otter fence. There's an otter fence going up on here, so that's a real positive thing for you lads coming in the winter, knowing that these fish are going to be safe and secure, you know, for the rest of its life. So yes, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to wish you all farewell, and hopefully we shall be seeing you on the next one, albeit the new year and the start of the winter campaign. So yes, double thumbs up, and I shall see you on the next one.